There we go. Good afternoon and welcome, guys. We are about to jump in a very special pounds dollars for lunch this afternoon. Sound is not been our friend in the last 2 days, so I believe we are back online, but we're going to get straight into it. We're going to start the session with a very special $250 credited towards your live account for whomever answers this particular question the quickest, right? And if you're ready, right, let me know. I'm going to be dropping this question. Let me tell you, just drop a quick hands up, put it in the comments and tell me if you are ready. Then I will drop the question, right? A lot of people yesterday said it was a bit too fast. They didn't hear what the question was. So I want everybody just to tell me they're ready, and then I will go ahead and drop the question. So just a quick shout out to everybody that's in our comments and just everybody that's saying they're ready. I got Medistation, Tabang, Silas, Raiz, Claudia, Godwin, Keegan, Mackenzie, Renisha, Keegan as well, Fabian doing it. Keegan doing a double ready. Keegan is doubly ready for this particular one. Okay, so this is the question, right? We've been discussing the Elon Twitter buyout deal this morning. Now, for those of you that went and read up and dived a little bit deeper into it, this is the question, right? At what share price did Elon agree to buy Twitter for? What was the share price that Elon agreed to buy Twitter for on that $44 billion buyout deal? So I'm looking for the share price that he agreed to buy Twitter for on that $44 billion buyout. If you have the answer, drop it right in the YouTube comments and we'll look at who was the closest to get to that answer. Come on. Ooh, I just see Meditation daily meditation videos dropped an answer there. Let's see. I will give a couple more answers just in case you guys feel that you can go ahead and grab it. You can just get it quicker than anybody else. Okay, so Meditation daily meditation videos, guys. You have got it. I don't know what your first name is. So you need to have a Globex 360 live account, at least with $100 in. If you do have that, send us your MT4 details. You can direct message me on Telegram. The link is in the description down below. Just give me your MT4 number and we'll go ahead and credit you with that $250 directly towards your live trading account that you can go ahead and do big things. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Medistation. We will then go ahead and credit you. Now, guys, we have a ton to talk about. We are going to be diving very deep into the markets, and we've got a lot of items to discuss from a news perspective. And then, as always, we're going to jump into the live trading as we get into that New York Stock Exchange Open. There is a ton of opportunities today. So I think without further ado, what we're going to do here is we're going to jump straight into it. So let's get started. All right, so the first article I want to talk about this afternoon is more of a local article. Now, the title is a bit misleading, saying traders are fighting the Reserve Bank on interest rates. This is the South African Reserve Bank. However, that's not the interesting thing for me in terms of, where we're going. But more than that, what I'm looking at is that the Reserve Bank currently has a forecast originally of around 250 basis points. That means 2.5% interest rate increase on the current base interest rate, right? That has been reserved down or revised down to 1.83% interest rate increase over the next 12 months. And that is obviously to curb inflation. But however, what that means, and for many of you guys that saw in previous month the South African Reserve Bank interest rate increase of 75 basis points, many people got notifications from their bank. If you have a variable interest rate on your car, your home, or your credit card for that matter, you would have seen that the interest rates or the installments would have gone up. Now, again, that was only 75 basis points. We're expecting 3 times that amount to go up in the South African economy over the next 12 months for the South African Reserve Bank to curb and get ahead of inflation. So if you've been wondering, is it now the time to start taking trading seriously? Is this the time you want to diversify and get into something that will allow you to not only come into the recession with a set of skills and tools, but ultimately exit it in a way wealthier and better position? And trading is then that time and space that you need to jump into and invest more time in, because things are going to get tough. We've said this, and I've said this over the past couple of weeks, but we're really going to start to see that trickle down in the numbers, and ultimately it falls onto the average South African's back to carry the burden of what reserve banks and governments and financial institutions around the world are busy doing. They pay the burden. So if you've been wondering if this is your time and you need to get serious, this might start to give you a little bit of a hint that might very well be that exact case. Now, quickly having a look, and well done again to, let's see, it's Daily Meditation. Let's quickly get the full name here. Please, family, let's drop your name here so we, Tristan, there we go, Tristan. He got that 54.20 per share. But again, we are continuing on the article with regards to Elon's buyout of Twitter on that 44 billion. It definitely seems to be legit. I was worried this morning that this could have been some sort of false flag and we could have been like April Fools, even though it's nowhere close to April. But it definitely seems legitimate. It seems that his legal team has confirmed and they are going to be continuing on with this deal in full steam. So we are going to be having a look at the share price of Twitter, and I would really like to get involved because we are currently seeing Twitter trade around that $52 mark. That's about $2.50 short of the original buyout deal, which is something we haven't seen since the deal was announced. Elon's original deal was very, very well priced. He was essentially giving them more per share than current market value on that $44 billion Twitter deal buyout. So that's going to obviously be quite a big one. We want to pay attention to that. The next article I want to talk about on the US is an article that essentially is commentary from JP Morgan that basically says that, you know, there's a good possibility that we could see the next interest rate hike be a policy error, right? And JP Morgan is quite worried that if the Federal Reserve further has this hawkish approach of another 75 basis point hike, they're worried that they could break the back of the US economy and force the US economy into not a soft landing, but a hard landing, full-on recession. Now, you obviously take that information and you align that with what is happening in terms of these big banks that are too big to fail, and you start to get a pretty gloomy picture. And I would not want to be in the position of the Federal Reserve right now, because that must be a super complicated position to be in. They're looking at past data, trying to make policy changes to help the economy, and yet it doesn't really matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they raise interest rates slightly or aggressively, they're going to get attacked from every angle. But, you know, we have to trust to a certain extent that they know what they're doing, right? Even though they kind of put the US economy and the rest of the world as a ripple effect in this place in the first place. So we've got to obviously rely and see on what they want to end up doing. However, we did get some fundamental data that does look good for the dollar. But again, I do think we are going to see the dollar return back to normality in the coming days. Okay, so quickly, last item before we get into the fundamental data. But basically on the pound and the euro, we're looking at, you know, will the pound and the euro regain and recover to normal levels? And if they don't, could this signal a real change in the market dominance for the euro and the pound? And really what we're looking at this particular season is, if this rebound does not live on, right, could it be the hill that the pound and the euro die on, right? In the sense that we don't see that recovery, could that be something that the pound really, really takes a long-term net sell-off on? So euro, pound, dollar, yen, across the board, all of these major currencies, right, these too big to fail currencies are all sitting at a crossroads. And again, we wait 5, 10, 15 years for these opportunities where all of these external elements come together to form these perfect storms from a trading perspective. So without further ado, what we're going to do is we're going to jump straight into some of the fundamental data this afternoon and have a look at what it is that we are looking at from an economic calendar perspective. So looking at the data we got out a little bit earlier in terms of the dollar, we can see that ADP non-farm employment change came out positive, right, for the dollar. Meaning that there are more and more jobs that have been created and more people filling those particular roles. So that is temporarily good for the dollar. However, this might also signal to the markets, right? So remember we had a broadcast where it said good news is bad news and bad news is good news. Well, this is how the market interprets this. In normal circumstances, job growth or more employment and less unemployment means a good thing for the dollar, strong, great, happiness. When we look in the context of inflation and we look at the Federal Reserve's stance on, you know, an economy that's growing too quickly and inflation's growing too quickly, when they see some of these positive economic data points, like the PMI data or this CPI data, and those items come out better than expected, it's seen as a negative because it means that the Federal Reserve has to put in more aggressive approaches to curb and slow down the economy, right? And that is why when we see some of these positive data points, the market looks at that and says, oh wow, okay, this is something we need to be worried about. So in this particular event here, employment growth, right, is still a good thing in terms of general for the US economy. However, the US Federal Reserve has said specifically on their side that they're looking for unemployment to rise and could rise to around that 4.2 to 4.4% mark. So that is obviously fairly worrying. Now, again, if we're seeing these employment data numbers come in strong, that could further lend a hand to the Federal Reserve coming in with a hammer on a 75 or 100 point hike in terms of their next meeting. So when we look at these numbers, they're not as straightforward as just good or bad, right? We need to look at all these other external events and piece them in together. I can see the comments are flowing. Is the Twitter news the same as Elon's Dogecoin news? Other case of buy rumor, sell a new scenario. So Fabian's asking a very, very important question. And this relates to what we were discussing on Twitter with Elon. Again, if you guys remember, and those of you that have been with me for a while, do you guys remember, I believe it was end of 2020, Bitcoin was going above that $40,000, $50,000 a coin. And Elon announced that he and Tesla would start accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment for Tesla vehicles, right? And I did a live broadcast and I said, guys, this is, if I was a bank, if I was a whale, right, holding these coins or holding stock into Bitcoin, how would I deal with this, right? Would I look at shorting and getting my money out, or would the price of Bitcoin continue? And I was fairly skeptical about the price of Bitcoin continuing. And we took an active short on Bitcoin purely because the market would use somebody like Elon that is endorsing a product, a currency, a altcoin in that particular case. And that's exactly what happened. Elon said, hey, listen, Tesla's investing $1.5 billion into Bitcoin. And directly after that, Bitcoin really started to fall substantially. So I don't believe it's the exact same case, because in that case, Elon had zero control over Dogecoin, right? He was just merely a stakeholder in terms of an investor in the coin. But in this particular case, he has the set skills in this field to turn around Twitter. So from my perspective, I would really like to get long on Twitter. I would like to own some shares of Twitter in a long-term future hold perspective. But again, as I said this morning, I'm really hoping that Elon understands and carries that responsibility that if he does something like this, a lot of people are watching him. And if for some reason, right, he has to drop Twitter and there's a bunch of his followers and a bunch of people that support him that are in share buys of Twitter, that could be something that could really cause distrust in the market. And with his community, it could alienate him from his bigger community. So that's definitely something we want to be aware of. But I do believe he's an extremely intelligent human being, and he understands the consequences of something like a rug pull on those Twitter items. So we obviously have to just trust that he knows what he's doing, and he won't give us a rug pull in that same manner. Okay, beautiful, guys. So as always, we're going to jump into the charts really quickly. And guys, thank you for the amazing comments. I can see here Batlebang saying USD CAD formed a cute double top formation on daily time frame. Price broke and closed its neckline yesterday. I believe it may trigger a bearish move to a major rising trend line. Yeah, absolutely. So again, if we see that continuation of the loss in the dollar, and we're going to look at the charts in a second, absolutely USD CAD could fall, right? Wherever we have dollar-based currencies and we see this continuation or weakness on the dollar, we could see those currencies fall. Wherever it is quote currencies, we could see those currencies rise if we continue to see that weakness on the dollar. Okay, so we are going to have a look at that. Peter van Beek is saying Kim Kardashian got fined for her coin ads, and I believe she was promoting, I can't remember which coin she was promoting, but yeah, she was being paid, $50,000, $20,000 per post to promote a crypto, ultimately that she knew nothing about, and resulted in a ton of people losing a lot of money. So again, when you get involved in the markets, any market, right, try and dive deeper. If you're trading US30, go and open up, what instruments, what shares, what companies are involved in that US30 and what's involved, right? Trading and investing requires a larger investment from a time and information perspective than it does from a capital perspective. Capital is just the means to the vehicle to create profit and a successful trade. But to get that, there's a lot of time that needs to go into that. So I think without further ado, what we're going to do now is let's jump straight into our FX analysis. as we have a look at what is busy happening on the markets from a dollar perspective. Okay, beautiful. So let's jump straight in. Let's have a look at what we're currently looking at. This is the dollar index. Now, we can see that positive fundamental data that we got in terms of ADP, unemployment, and non-farm change, right? We got that temporary spike towards the top side, right? So we are seeing that little bit of momentum on the dollar. And if we just zoom in, that's a 4-hour time frame. I'm just going to drop down to a 1-hour time frame because I'm looking at, what are the parameters for a breakout here? Now, a lot of people will start to draw the trend line like this and they'll wonder why it's not working. And what you want to do here is you want to look at, are there any exceptions and where does that trend most likely sit? And what you'll see is we've got those moments in time right there, and that would be the actual trend line, right? And people often ask me when I draw trend lines, why would I exclude this? Why would I cut that out? And again, when you have an extension to the top or an extension to the bottom, right, that can distort price. It can distort your absolute high and your absolute low. Because when you have resistance, price can push through and then fall back down. The top of that price was not resistance. It got through resistance but failed to hold up above. Once was resistance, now support. And that will distort the highs and lows of a chart. So meaning when you're drawing your trend lines and you're taking the absolute high, you might find that you're actually utilizing the extension of that market and not necessarily, as an example, not necessarily the absolute high, which should be that level there. So where we are right now in terms of dollar index, we're currently sitting right on resistance in terms of that level. We can see it very clearly there, right? We're sitting straight on resistance, and we are going to be looking for any sort of change or reversal in price on the dollar coming up over the next hour or two, and specifically having a look at NYSE open, because that is obviously where we want to pay the most of our attention to as price moves and price breaks. So we're obviously going to pay a little bit of attention to that. So before we get into the rest of our FX analysis, what I'd like to do now is I want to open up and have a look at what we can potentially take advantage of from a indices perspective. So what I'm going to quickly do is open up my charts here really quickly, and I just want to have a look at indices this afternoon as we look and dive into potentially capitalizing on a trade. And we will obviously have a look at what else we can do from a Twitter perspective, because that is a trade I would really like to get into and be involved in. So let's quickly tidy up my charts really quickly. Okay, there we go. So we have some very interesting formations, and I'm glad that we've waited a little bit for the NYSE open this afternoon because it is about to get a little bit crazy, and I think there's going to be a ton of opportunity for us to essentially take advantage of. So we are jumping into the live trading section, and let's have a look at what we're currently seeing. And what I have here is I've got US 30 on the left hand side, NASDAQ in the center, German 30 on the right hand side. But more specifically than that, right, we're seeing the New York Stock Exchange opened up with a spike towards the top side, hit that 500-day moving average, and this is currently on a 1-minute time frame. These two on the right hand side are sitting on a 5-minute time frame. Now, what I'm looking at here is that NASDAQ has got down to its low, right? German 30 is also currently sitting at its low. And what I'm looking for is, are we going to have a break of these market structures in this session, or will we see this in the next session? I think what I'll do is let me go to 15 minutes on both NASDAQ as well as, there we go. Just waiting for that one to do a quick update. Let's quickly see what she does. Okay, good stuff. Is everybody still connected? Everybody can hear and see me? Everything is good and great? There we go. I see some beautiful faces in these profile pictures. Mrs. Bart, make me blush in a live session. Guys, absolutely thank you for the comments. Let's quickly go through a comment quickly while these charts do their quick updates on their side. We are still a little bit away from a market formation or breakout. So that's particularly what we're looking out for. NASDAQ 15, German 30, 15, left-hand side, 1 minute. So we are going to be paying attention to that. Let's quickly have a look at the comments really quickly as we get into it. Let's see. UPUSD looks quite overbought. Price action was steadily contracting. Absolutely. GPUSD, look, again, we're going to have those conflicting instruments in terms of the pound issues as well as the issues on the dollar. So that's one I'm going to definitely think has a lot of opportunity, but I'd want to trade that one with caution. Darlene, what is happening? Setso, Tandi, Renisha. Let's see. Nico Fenta is back in the house. Welcome, Nico. Well done on winning that previous $250. Okay, so what we're currently seeing on NAS 100 is we're seeing that break towards the downside. We've got a German 30 move over here. But again, in order for me to be able to take this with confidence, what I'm looking for is two things. And I'm going to use, right, US 30 as an example, right? I'm looking for, will US 30, break this market structure? We've bounced off that 500 period SMA. And our initial move on the RSI gave us that sell side move, right? It gave us that sell side spike because we broke through RSI towards the top side. However, I'm not, I want to see that US 100 as well as US 30 hold up above these levels, because if we start to see US 100, and German 30 break downside, I would be very hesitant to take a US 30 buy side move, right? So US 30 from just a pure RSI perspective is telling us that it might want to move towards a long in terms of a buy, which is exactly where I want to be. However, NASDAQ is currently sitting at that low as well as German 30. So all we're waiting to do here is see what the market is going to give us from a opportunity perspective. So that's all we're doing right now. So when that happens, I'll let you guys know. But in summary, what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for US 30 to breach that level, and I'm looking for NASDAQ to breach that level. And on German 30, this is currently still sitting on a 15 minutes. I'm looking for German 30 to do the same thing, right? In addition to that, if we start to get sell side movement and we get German 30 breaching support, we get NASDAQ breaching support, as well as US 30 breaching support. And remember, please also remember, US 30 is quite a far way away from support, right? So we are sitting and floating around in no man's land. So that is obviously what we want to essentially look out for. Stefan Katia is saying, do we have a WTI prediction after the OPEC meeting? We will have a look at WTI. I don't necessarily focus too much on WTI. I really focus a lot more on a Brent and crude perspective, but we will and can obviously put some focus in that one. And that's going to more be revolving around, we will open this up, we will put this in the background, and I will analyze this towards the end. So we will have a look at that. We do get a lot of questions about WTI, and we will jump into it. So let's just see here. Okay, so we're still waiting for these guys to move. So let's allow these ones to do what they got to do. And if we don't get a movement in the next couple minutes, then we will have a little bit of time to obviously jump in and have a look at what's happening. Tabang, we will have a look at EURUSD. We're going to get back to FX. We're just looking at live trading right now on indices. So Fabian, just in order to essentially mimic me on a chart, and from a charts perspective, what you want to do is you want to open up the charts and just be on the same time frame, right? On the left hand side, I've got US 30 1 minute, middle I've got NASDAQ 15 minutes, right hand side I've got German 30 15 minutes. So you've just got to have those three together and just scale your chart so that you can see what I see, and then you'll be able to spot those levels exactly on point. And again, if you're watching us, we are currently streaming in 1080p 60 frames a second, super high frame rates. So if you're watching on a bigger screen, you can go and make sure you've set your cog to, if you're watching on your phone even, you can still watch us in 1080p, and that should be enough clarity for you to be able to see the whole thing, charts, levels, everything in between. So that's just a tip for those of you that are watching us on mobile. So NASDAQ definitely looking like it wants to test that low. I'm not too keen on a short here. German 30 hovering dead square, and US 30 also hovering pretty much dead square. So we're obviously going to pay a little bit of attention to this. I have noticed on my system in the past couple days that I am getting a little bit of a stutter in terms of price updates. The team is currently working on that as we speak, because obviously there's these slight pauses in terms of data, but they are currently working on that. So if you've got the same thing, please do drop me a comment. You're welcome to direct message me. But if you're trading on desktop and you're receiving the same pauses or halts, Please, it's super important. The more people that have these, the more we can obviously dive in and obviously research and make sure that it is fixed and sorted, and that it's not just isolated to maybe my system as an example, because I'm running tons of applications in the background. So that would obviously, I'll let you guys know. In addition, guys, all right, so this is a super important one, right? So as we've been discussing over the past couple of weeks, there's going to be a time and season where we have a group that gives you preferential treatment. You get special access to new shows, new broadcasts, and all the special facilities in terms of signals, in terms of mentorship, in terms of one-on-one sessions, so on and so forth. What's going to happen is before the end of the week, we are going to send out an email. If you have a Globex 360 live account and you have more than $100, on Thursday morning and over the course of Thursday, you're going to receive an email that will give you the link to the Telegram group. And that is going to be the Telegram, the Globex 360 basic group. It's going to be the very first group, the starting level of all the other products and services that we're going to be having, right? We will announce what those packages look like in the coming weeks, but that is going to be the starting point. And that means that I can share freely with you guys. There's a lot of people in our group there's other brokers in our groups that are just watching what it is we're doing. And we are going to be looking at that buy on US30 this afternoon, right? US30 does seem like it wants to do its thing, and we are getting that pop towards the top side. So just while I'm busy speaking, I could see in the background, my alarms were busy going off, and we want to then start to jump into those buy side momentum moves there, right? And it's just about being a little bit more patient. Again, we got that pushback off of US 100, pushback off German 30. It's a little bit premature. We are taking a little bit of an earlier move here, but again, we're just allowing this market to push and do what it's got to do. But I would like to see prices break higher on US 30, and then I'd like to see that followed up on NASDAQ as well as German 30. Now, for a bigger trade, and let's say you don't catch the early move, what I want you guys to look at or potentially consider for your own trades or your own perspective is if we have a look at German 30, US 30. I don't know why they keep adding these 30s and all these items here. I want us just to focus on, if we're having a look at that market structure, right? All we have to really do this afternoon is we simply just have to focus on the price of US 30 breaching the 30,200, right? 30,200. Right, if we breach 30,200 on US 30, then we've broken this little bear consolidation. We've bounced off the 50, the 500 period SMA, and then we are off into the races and off to the moon, right? So again, depending, where you want to trade this and how you want to trade this, it's completely up to you. But again, from my perspective, if you haven't caught the scalp in terms of the really quick market move here, or you want to wait for a safe entry, then again, I would say the 30,200 would be the long entry that you want to be involved in to get into some of that longer action. And again, we determined that based off of previous fib levels, but more importantly, it's about clearing that absolute low from the first 6 months of this year. That is in essence what we're trying to clear and the price that we're trying to beat. But going back on a 1 minute time frame, if you're in this trade, you should already be in profit. But again, this is going to be a little bit of a trade that hangs for a bit, and there's no issues there. We can just allow this one to hang. And again, I'm pulling my stops just south of price in its current position. And should we go back below this 500 period SMA, then we very could well be in a range for this afternoon. And as you guys know, I don't like trading ranges. So if we start to range down and pull back up, that's not a trade that I'd particularly want to look at. However, if we have a look at yesterday, right, as an example, from a trading perspective, we may also want to consider that I taught you guys in last week's session about the opportunity that we've been seeing in terms of those breakouts towards the top side, in terms of those big buy market movements, right? And I do believe we were using this chart to analyze on. Let's quickly have a look here. Yes. Okay. So I do believe we were using this chart to analyze on, and we looked at that pop that we got yesterday afternoon. This was our buy trade from yesterday, and we got this pop that happened. Now, in this trade, we were lucky because we essentially caught it on the US New York Stock Exchange open. However, we start to get a shift and a change in momentum also closer to that 5 o'clock mark. in the afternoon. So we want to just pay attention to that. If we go into a range this afternoon, then we may want to look at an opportunity closer to that 5:15 mark, because that was the whole trend we saw the whole of last week. So a pop of price over here, we essentially got to the 4 o'clock mark. 5 o'clock, we got a little bit of a shift and change in direction on USDT. So we just want to pay attention to that. So if we run out of time this afternoon and we don't get a very clear breakout or very clear trade here on this USDT, then again, we want to pay attention closer to, like I said, that 5 o'clock mark. But just quickly talking about the accounts really quickly. So we are going to set out a link, and that'll be the Globex 360 basic account. That is going to be the starting point. So that would mean you have $100 and you then qualify for all of these amazing services and features that we're going to be adding to every single one of you. Now, in the current group that you are in on Telegram, that will remain free, that'll remain open, and every morning you'll get pounds for breakfast, right? That's all that you would get in that group, and we may give away free things from time to time, and it is of value. You still get a lot of value just by being there, whether you have a Globex 360 account or not, even though it's an absolute no-brainer why you should have a Globex 360 account. So then we'll have the basic, the Globex 360 basic, and that'll be the $100 accounts and more. And that's where you'll get signals on a daily basis. That's where you'll get market opportunities on a daily basis, market breakdowns, analysis, dollars for lunch, as well as additional special shows. And thereafter, we're going to be focusing on some of the bigger accounts. And that is where, people are having much larger accounts that really want to look at bigger swing trades and have more of a personalized opportunity to jump in and essentially get into the markets in a bit of a deeper and a more intimate level. So we are creating these packages really to help you diversify yourself and get what it is that you need, because I have clients with $1 million accounts, and we have clients with 10 Rand accounts, right? And the needs are different, and we recognize that, and we would like to obviously serve where it is accordingly in relation to that. Someone saying stopped out in profits, that's great. So you've obviously utilized a trailing stop, that is brilliant. And again, a trailing stop in a market like this is an ideal case scenario, right? Where you don't want to just hold out a trade. You don't want to hold it for, hours and hours and hours. You want to be right immediately, or you want to be wrong immediately. That is where trailing stop is perfect. For me and my perspective, what I'm merely looking at from a trailing perspective or a stop perspective is I'm basically saying, all right, listen, if markets pull below that level, I want to be out of that trade. And how I deal with this, and a lot of people ask me, there's a lot of methods for utilizing a stop loss, right? What I generally do is I look at the point of a breakout in the market. So if we just consider this particular move over here, or this particular market, right, we can see that this is the point of departure. This is the point that this market broke out. Now, below that level and in line with the RSI, where the RSI broke out, that is the way I don't want to be involved in that trade, right? That's where I want to get out of that trade. And then I'm pretty happy to take a loss, because then, that was a temporary spike or temporary breakout. On this particular one, I'm going to reduce my position sizing by at least one of my positions, for the reason being that we're not making any further progress in that zone. So I've proactively already closed one of my trades. So I've reduced my risk by half, right? Again, because it's not a straight runner towards the top side. And what I want to do here is I'm essentially just going to look at that, and I'm going to say to myself, all right, great. Below the 500 moving average, right? I don't want to be in this trade, but I am going to allow it some room to breathe in terms of if it just wants to bounce and continue to the top side. I'm more than happy with that. So a lot of people ask these questions, and there's a ton of different methods to managing risk. But, once you've placed enough time in the markets, you intuitively start to learn, and you really start to feel. And I think that's, the most common question is, is this something that's learnable, teachable, or is it a feeling? Do you get a feeling of what market's going to do? And it's a little bit of both, right? You start to sense and feel like, okay, the market's not really looking very healthy, and this is what I should do. And that's not a technical thing. That's more a time and effort in terms of spending time in the markets. And that's what the markets are about. It's about investing that time into it, right? And also not panicking, right? Markets don't go your way immediately. Don't panic, right? It's just a number. And again, we are going to be launching a very, very powerful series coming up in the next couple of weeks that really talks about managing your money and managing your profile and how to get where you want to be long term. So you obviously want to definitely stick around to be a part of that. So we're getting a push out into profit. USDT is currently in profit as of now, but I don't trust it. I think it does have potential to push quite a bit. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set up 1,000 points trailing and just leave that in that position. But again, we're getting at a little bit of a consolidation, a little bit of a range. As you guys know, I don't like ranging markets, and I'm very, very happy to get out of a range rather than just hold it and wait for a potential day in which, you know, they start to make sense. So I'm very, very happy to potentially get out of that one. Let's close the dollar index quickly. I want to figure out which is our current chart. There we go. Good stuff. All right, so again, dollar in USD on the left-hand side. We do have NASDAQ in the center, and I think my 1,000 point trailing engaged and took me out of that trade nice and safely. I don't know. Okay, so I mean, the reality here is that we want to obviously look for that breakout. Again, that breakout point for me is going to be over that 88.2. So what I'm going to do, instead of just holding this and just waiting for a market to give me something, I'm going to deal with this a little bit differently. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be sending up a pending order, because that means that I don't have to be in front of my PC, but I can, you know, allow this order to activate at a later time whenever it goes through. So we're going to use stop orders, right? So now it will automatically open a trade based on your most recent trade activity. But if you're going to want to do it manually, right, there's a very, very quick step setup in terms of how to do that. So you're going to open up your order window. This is the same if you're on a mobile platform, very, very same setup here. And you're going to go under account or order type. You want to select a pending order, and you want to select the order type. Now, for this reason, we're going to use a stop order. And that basically means that once price moves past that level, it will activate it. So buy stop will mean you want to buy, and a sell stop would mean you want to sell. So once price gets past that level, automatically execute an order on your behalf. So I'm going to do a buy stop. And again, we want to execute this buy stop at the 30,200 mark, 30,200. And we want to have a stop loss below that zone. And we'll probably go for 30,150 from a stop loss perspective. 30,150. And from a TP perspective, we could potentially run to the next Fibonacci level, and that will be in the, let's be a little bit cheeky and let's target the 30,600 level. Okay, and the great thing about this is once you place this order, and obviously you want to make sure you have valid stop losses and take profits. So let's quickly see. Okay, there we go. My stop loss was incorrect. So if you get an error where it says can't execute, it just means it's an error in your stop loss or your setup there. So I'm changing that to 30,100. Now, the great thing about a pending order, right? And again, I highly incentivize you guys to, or encourage you to utilize this for risk management, is that once you have a pending order, right? Let me delete. I just want to see which one is my, okay, there we go. I'm going to delete the first one. Right, once you have a pending order in place, the great thing about this is you can, based on this, so for example, I'm placing a small pending order here, right? Half a lot. Based on half a lot, I can see here, if I just look at my stop loss and I move that, I can see that half a lot on this stop loss is $25, right? Well within under 1% of my account. And if I look at my take profit, right? My take profit is currently sitting at $200. So I can currently see here that my stop loss is at $25. My TP is sitting at $200. I can afford to increase that volume to maybe 4 lots and remain within that 2 to 3% risk reward ratio. Now, at a 2 or 3 lot trade, let's talk about a 2 lot trade. If this was 2 lots, it means that my total stop loss would be in the region of about $100. And from a take profit perspective, my take profit would be about $800. So it's a 1 to 8 risk reward ratio. Again, like when we look at trading is not about being right. Trading is about when you make money, you make big money, and you lose small. So that if you lose half your trades and win half your trades, then when you're losing $20. When you're winning $100. That will mean you can lose 7 trades and win 3 and still be net profitable, net positive at the end of the day. And that is a big revelation. It took me a lot of years to understand what that was all about and the way that was most important. Someone's asking, do I trade indices only? No, I trade everything. So I've got investment positions on gold. I've got investment positions on crypto. I've got trades on currency. Again, this is still part of the free broadcast. So again, once you guys are on the group, we will send as we trade individual items, as we trade currencies, as we trade cryptos, as we trade commodities, as we trade those things, we will send those opportunities for you with the market structure and the price action that you can take advantage of. Welcome, Kingdom, to the Globex 360 live TV channel. Thank you for joining us. Right, let's quickly jump in as we wait for this trade to tell us what it wants to do here. Let's quickly jump in and have a look at, from a fundamental perspective, what sort of data we are getting out at that 4 o'clock mark, because again, we were waiting for that ISM non-manufacturing PMI. So again, PMI data generally from a bigger consensus means a positive thing for the dollar. But again, in the eyes of the Fed, right, they don't want to see this data. They don't want to see growth, right? The goal is to slow down the economy. So the US economy is running rampant. And this just means that, like, I'm worried about Papa Powell, because he's essentially going to come out with a whip and a shotgun and a chainsaw. And yeah, that's going to be a little bit crazy. So let's hope, you know, that they don't come out swinging, they don't break the back of the US economy, because, you know, all these number sets are good. The issue is inflation. The issue from inflationary perspectives is they just printed too much money and put too much money into the system and created too much debt, too much cheap money. People were spending money that they didn't have and overcapitalized. So you can imagine at one point it was cheaper in the US, right, to borrow money from the bank than it was to use your own money, right? If you're sitting in the US right now, you can obviously confirm or deny that, but at some point it was like 1%, right? 1.5%, 2% interest to borrow money for the bank, for your business, for your credit cards, for all these different things. And what that meant is people over leveraged themselves. And now that we're seeing these interest rate increases, imagine if you were repaying, you know, 20,000 Rand a month on your debt and the interest rate has doubled. You're now paying 40,000 Rand a month for your debt, and you can't get more credit because it's harder to acquire more clean credit or cheap credit. Tundi, let's just hope, like, imagine that would be a proper, I know it's not April, I keep saying April Fools, I don't know why, but imagine Papa Powell comes out with like a chainsaw and says, no, I'm just kidding. And then, you know, like, I think markets need a good laugh. However, obviously he holds quite an important position. I don't think he can make those jokes, but we can, right? We'll on the day, maybe, I don't know, we'll do it ourselves. So yeah, it's a very tricky thing for the US economy to essentially absorb this data and obviously understand where that's going. So this positive US data could have a negative effect on indices this afternoon. So we might want to look out for those sell side moves and those breakouts towards the downside. Again, a bigger break to the top is definitely something I'd like to see, because that's in line with where our bigger objectives are going. But again, we're going to wait for the USD to tell us and decide. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up two orders, right? So I'm looking at, if we break out the top side above market structure, I would like to buy USD. And again, should we start to create that sell side momentum, then essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to play both sides of the market, right? So I'm going to have a non-biased approach, again, because the data is looking a little bit crazy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the structure over here, and I'm looking at those lower lows. And I'm basically, all I'm saying is that should we break that support, meaning an extension down, and I'll create maybe a 200 or 300 pip level here, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing. So I'm creating a sell stop, and my stop loss I would like to put back into structure. So we'll have here around about a 500 pip stop. So I'm looking for a stop loss in the region of let's see here, yeah, 29990 I think for me is going to be that good range. 29990, and we're going to just allow this one to do what it wants to do. So if we see a reversal and a fall here, again, this could start to create a much bigger retracement. I'm just going to move this off to the left hand side. Should we start to see a break here, this could set off a move back to the value proposition of what we're talking about in terms of that 29,700. So that is where I'd essentially look to start taking profits, is a 29,700 mark, and I'm just going to create that order over there. So in this event, what we do is we've got a perfect storm setup situation where, you know, should we break to top side, we've got a stop loss on the downside. should we break downside, we've got a stop loss to the top side, and we can simply allow markets to do what it is that they want to do here. And again, if we break this 500-day SMA, our stop loss would be just above that 500 period SMA, and we can obviously take advantage of that together. Now, quickly allowing this to do what it needs to do, and I'll set up just some alerts here in the background. So if markets breach prices, we will come back to that. But let's just quickly have a look at what is currently happening on Twitter, because we are going to start to get that market open data. And yeah, we want to obviously pay a little bit of attention to this as well. We're obviously going to need to get a little bit more used to the gearing and how things work from that perspective. So I'm going to help you guys in terms of the gearing and just show you a little bit of data in terms of what you can expect here. Okay. So this is really, really good. Like, guys, I don't know. I honestly don't know how Globex does this from a pricing perspective, right? I just opened up a 0.01 on Twitter, right? Okay. And my margin requirements is 50 cents in dollar terms, right? So let's go ahead and open up a 0.10. So I'm opening up a 0.10, right? And margin requirements is $5. Okay, I'm gonna go open up a lot, standard lot, 1.0. A standard lot on Twitter, right, is crazy, is only $50. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. That's my game plan, right? Twitter has broken out of this market price. Yes, can Elon cause some problems? Absolutely, right? Elon is super naughty. Those who are close to Elon says that, he is just proper naughty in his nature, right? He swears like a banshee. He says things the way they are, and he's not scared of much. So can he cause trouble? I have no doubt that he can. But I like this for long-term setup. I think it's something we could potentially take advantage of. I just want to have a look here. Which trade is which trade? All these trades very close together. So I'm just quickly measuring where markets could move to. Okay, so the gearing on Twitter is extremely, extremely small from a share price perspective. Let's have a look here. Yeah. So on a standard lot, we're looking at about 10 cents US per pip. So if Twitter moves, like example, if Twitter moves from where it is now to $60 a share, that's in the region of about 90 something pips, and at a standard lot you're looking at 10 cents a pip, so you're looking around in the region of probably around about $9 or so on a standard lot, right? So the gearing is super low there, but it also just means that the margin requirements are extremely, extremely small. So that's something that I want to hold on to long term. I'd like to see where that goes. Again, just be cautious. Again, we had it in the comments. Everything Elon has endorsed thus far. Actually, I don't know. Is there something that Elon has endorsed that we haven't seen craziness on? I'm not sure. I can't recall the last thing that Elon endorsed that we didn't see absolute chaos on. I'm not sure. But we'll look at this. We'll continue to pay attention and see where this ends up going. And obviously, you want to set up your stop losses accordingly. So quickly, as we wrap up, let's just have a look at some of the other markets this afternoon. Touching on the dollar index, we very well could get that dollar index breakout. We got that stronger US fundamental data. Could that be enough? Possibly, right? Again, we have multiple days of corrections to the downside. We could very well see the dollar correct slightly before we see a deeper movement towards the downside. I quickly want to give USDT a quick look here, because we are potentially going to start to see that break towards the downside. Yeah, Yeah, I'm hesitant to just short it without breaching my conditions, right? So my conditions for US30 short is breaking that diagonal, and then obviously activating this pending order that's currently sitting here. So we are currently sitting in that zone, and something you have to be aware of and prepared for. Yeah, so we'll just keep those alarms, we'll keep those limits going. But again, just quickly wrapping up, and we're going to get alarms in the background. I'm just going to have to deal with it as we go. But moving back into Euro USD, I know there was a question about, can we have a look at it? Can we monitor it? Absolutely. So Euro USD has obviously started. Sorry, that's USD ZAR we're currently looking at. I was also just wondering how Euro USD just moved that way. Right, so going back into Euro USD, we do have a lot of potential for that continuation. However, just from a smaller market perspective, we can see that we are now currently in a position where markets are correcting, and we do need to make a play on what we want to end up doing here. Now, I think market structure for me is probably sitting closer in a zone, something like that. So Euro USD does seem to have been broken, and there may be some short opportunities there involved there. It's not something I want to play with this afternoon. It's not something I want to get involved in. Same thing with USD ZAR. A little bit of that dollar strength may give us that retest of the 78.6 and then a continuation towards a point down. So again, it's all going to be about where price hangs and what price ends up doing in the meantime, as we obviously build up into those zones a little bit closer to time. So we obviously just want to pay a little bit more attention to that. Looking at commodities really quickly, because we haven't really spoken much about gold and other commodities this afternoon. We will look at Brent as well very, very shortly. But currently looking at gold, we got that push as we discussed in the morning session, but then exactly what I was, potentially worried about, or what I was cautious against, was just buying gold sitting at that 1726 mark, because we did need to make some sort of retracement. So this dollar strength is good for us from a price action perspective, because we are going to see price pull back towards the downside, right? And then we're going to end up pushing towards the top side. So again, that little bit of dollar weakness is definitely something that will play into our hand. That's something we can take advantage of in terms of continuation towards the top side. Looking at Brent, right now, Brent is a big one, and Brent is going to continue to be a massive one. Guys, we are right at that point in time where if Brent breaks at $93 a barrel, right, Brent is on its way to absolutely dominate. And that's something we want to pay a lot of attention to, because if Brent breaks at $93 a barrel, right, price of Brent is going to go through the roof, right? There's a lot of you guys that really enjoy trading Brent. So obviously if you get that opportunity and you see it and you take it, that might be a big one. But again, you want to be part of the basic group, at least in order to get that signal on that Brent as it moves and as we deal with that one. Now, really, really quickly, as we dive in and look into the crypto side of things, we are going to be focusing and paying a little bit of attention right now on Bitcoin. And Bitcoin starts to give us the signs that it does want to make that breakout. However, we are at that point in time now where we are going to see this key retest area. And I believe that everything right now at this moment in time is really ramping up towards NFP. If you look at markets as a whole, we got those 1 or 2 days of market weakness. We had 1 or 2 days where markets were saying, yeah, the dollar has to get a bit weaker, and we saw the data come in. Great 2 trading days, Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, we might hover a little bit. Thursday, we'll start to see the market give us a little bit of a hint as to what it wants to do. But you guys will remember, the Thursday before NFP, so the day before NFP, markets are always a little bit cautious. Markets look at everything and kind of just markets hang. So NFP on Friday, I think, is going to be massive. I think it's going to be probably one of the biggest NFPs we've had in the last 3 quarters. So one of the biggest NFPs of this year, because we're seeing a lot of things come together and essentially point out to create that market opportunity that we can use to take advantage of to the top side, something we can really look at as a monster trade that we can take advantage of. So guys, I've obviously spoken a lot. We've been through a lot of things. US30 isn't quite reacting this afternoon how we want to. Fundamental data may play a part in that, or may play a part to that. But if you've got your pending order set up on that downside move, and you got your pending order set up on the top side move, I think you're covered. We don't want to get held into this range of a trade. Most traders, I saw comments on another group that I'm involved in with some mentors and people that look up. Everyone first said sell US30, everybody bought US30, then they said sell US30. So I've seen 5 or 6 conflicting signals of people and their opinions in terms of USDT. So again, we don't need to be right, we just need to be patient. And when the move happens that is in line with what we're looking at from a trade perspective, then by all means we can jump in and we can take advantage. That is obviously what it is all about. Let's quickly see what Batlebang is saying. Next resistance 83.6, 83.8 for entries. Consider an occasional retest of broken trend line. Are you talking about, what are you talking about? Next resistance for Brent? Are you talking about the next resistance for Bitcoin? Are you talking about the next resistance for South African Rand? Are you talking about the next resistance for politics or New Year's Eve? Or yeah, that would help if we know what we're talking. I assume you're talking about Brent, but that's an assumption. Crude, there we go. Okay, so Free Knee is saying, are we going to be live for the NFP? Yes, all Globex 360 clients that have more than $100 in their accounts, we will then obviously be moving together on NFP on Friday. So if you've got a live account and you have more than $100 in that, you will automatically receive an email from Globex for that trade opportunity to be able to jump in with us, right? So it's gonna be a private link. You won't be able to share that link with anybody else. It will be just for you, and that's in order to jump in and be a part of that. So you already get that email on Friday morning. So if you're not funded before then, or you only fund on Friday, then I don't know. You might be too late. So again, we're sending out that email from Friday morning. The email is 2 things. If the first thing is joining the Globex 360 Basic or the beginners group, the starting point, as well as the link for the NFP towards the end of the day. So Fabian's saying, have we reached our cap for giveaway credits? Not as yet. I still have the option to give away a couple more $1,000, but I do like it when we have powerful sessions. You guys have been amazing in the chat, so let's do one last one. All right, I think let's vote in. Can you guys in the chat, can you guys vote in who's been the MVP, most valued trader, MVT, for today's session? Whoever's contributed the most, been the most active, just been the hype king or queen. I think that's what we want to do, right? Let's not talk about hype king or the contributions. Let's talk about hype king and queens. Who's done the most, who's created the most energy, the most noise. We'll quickly do one last giveaway. That'll be for $250. But the big stuff is going to be happening for NFP. So I'm trying to save a lot of the giveaway money for NFP because I'd really like to try and see if we can give away $1,000 or more for that NFP session. To try and see if we can give away 20 or 30,000 Rand. And you can't vote for yourself. If you vote for yourself, you're immediately disqualified. People are voting for themselves. You see, Mackenzie's like legit, right? Let's just see here. Medistation. I think Medistation is just voting for his friend. Oh no, he's not. Keto Shipile. Batlebang. Okay. Yeah, Mackenzie's always bringing the fire. Like, I agree. Mackenzie's always doing the fire. Free Knee. So Free Knee and Mr. Grills disqualified. Athang is disqualified. Fires is disqualified. Okay, so I think the first 2 votes. All right, we'll give a couple seconds, right? Nisha saying Keegan, Mackenzie, Kitsapile is in. Batlebang. Let's see. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so let's do that. I think that we've got 3 votes in already for Batlebang. Do me a favor, Batlebang, and just send me your MT4 details, and we will get you credited. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. So one of my pending orders activated already on a USDT sell. So I don't know where you guys are from that perspective, but one of mine is activated, and yeah. Batlebang, you can send it to me directly on Telegram, or you can send it to me here on YouTube. The Telegram would be better because then I have it and I can send it off to the team in order to help get you credited and sorted. Oh, Tristan is saying he only has $30 in his live account and doesn't qualify for the original $100. Our very first winner has missed out on that 100. Doesn't qualify for the $250. Guys, it's an absolute no-brainer. Right, get your accounts funded, get sorted out. $100 is the minimum you need in order to be active in the markets. Playing around with $10, $5, $20. Let's get serious, right? Interest rates are about to kick in. The world is about to get turned into a crazy place. It's time to get serious, right? It's time to really get serious. So let's push and let's support each other. So the first one, yeah, Butlerbane, send it through to me. Okay, so the unfortunately, our very first person who was on the money so quickly missed out on getting that $250 credit. MediStation didn't get that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna save that for NFP Friday, because it gives us more money to give away on that NFP Friday session. Again, you need to have at least $100 in your live account, guys. It's an amazing free service, free broadcast for those of you who have Globex 360 live accounts. It's unlike anything else that is in the world right now. It's going to be crazy. And I agree with you, Hein. NFP Friday is double or nothing. It's going to be crazy. Entrepreneur Promotion Man is saying, can I please be assisted? I'm crying out loud. Can you be assisted with what? I don't know what needs assistance here. Anyway, guys, I'm super tired. I'm starting to talk rubbish, and I know when I talk rubbish, it's time for me to sign out. So yeah, we're going to be saving more money for NFP Friday. It's going to be big. It's going to be massive. It's one of those NFPs that I'm going to fully gear myself out for. I'm going to clear my day out. I'm going to be focusing fully on that day. We will have a pounds for breakfast nice and early. I think I'm going to do a pre-recorded session, get it out there, and I want to spend time, get here, get rested for that NFP. That's going to be massive. It's going to be mad. You want to be a part of that. We're going to be speaking about this NFP Friday for the rest of the month, and you're going to be sitting there thinking, wow, you missed it because you have $80 in your account or you're $10 short. Like, yeah, let's not play games. Brilliant, guys. Fabian, Heinrich, Silas, Entrepreneur, can't access my account. Entrepreneur, Promotion Land, go ahead and join us on our Telegram group, right? We have a Globex 360 chatbot, and we have extended the after hours support. So if you go ahead and message the bot now, and it'll ask you, do you want help with accounts, finance, fee, withdrawals, deposits, whatever the case may be, and it'll connect you with our team that's currently at the office to assist you with getting your accounts sorted out, reset, feature, documents, upload, deposits, whatever you need. So go ahead, in the description down below, there is the link to the Telegram group. Jump in there, and then just go ahead and click the Globex 360 chatbot, and it'll connect you with our team, and you'll be assisted in real time. And we have, in addition to that, extended those working hours, so the team is able to help you after hours as well. Hey, Fires is not playing. I borrowed money from my wife's grocery money, so I'll be funded, guys. Okay, no problem, no issues, right? But please remember, if your wife calls me, if your wife comes to me and says, hey, what happened? Fires said that, you know, please. Marsha Bart, you gorgeous human being, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Hein, what is happening? I agree with Hein. I think Diaz is in trouble. Maybe it's saying enjoy the divorce. Sleeping on the couch. This is beautiful. Okay, right, guys, as always, be safe and trade safe. Remember, use money that you actively know that you're investing into the market, and that, you know, you're not looking at that for rent money, to pay bills, to pay back your wife, right? Again, because that's part of risk management. Again, you don't want to be emotionally attached to that money. It really helps. And again, that's a luxurious place to be. But from a mindset perspective, don't put money in the markets that you aren't prepared and can afford to lose. That is extremely important. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys, listen, thank you. Comments are absolutely amazing. You guys are amazing. I hope you guys have an amazing day. I'm going to get some rest. I'm going to put my feet up and prepare mentally for NFP this Friday. And I hope to see you guys there. I'll see you guys pounds for breakfast tomorrow morning, dollars for lunch, and we're going to have a ton of fun together as always. So brilliant. Congratulations to the winners. Unfortunately, and sorry for those who didn't, but But again, we're going to be doing this a whole of this week. And remember, we are going to be playing quite a good game tomorrow afternoon as a test for NFP Friday. We didn't get a lot of movement on the markets. And so if on a day when we can expect a bit of movement, we will do that competition tomorrow, testing for NFP Friday. Where do you believe markets will be by a certain time? And again, we'll do a giveaway based on that. So we'll do that one together tomorrow and then in preparation for NFP Friday. Outside of that, guys, it has been a long session, over an hour broadcast, hour 10 minutes. So I'm going to sign off and say thank you. God bless. As always, remember to do things the Globex 360 way. Goodbye.